So, what is it, 11 years, 10 years since we've had micro seminars anywhere, at Keefe or here?
2010 was the last one.
That's pretty much like about 10 years. So, how happy am I to be here? You may not know, but the Who are playing in Fenway Park tonight. My wife has been asking me for months, are you sure you want to go to NEAT? We should be going to the Who. And I really like the Who. And I kept telling her over and over, I would rather be at NEAT. This is where I want to be. Happy to be back. So, a couple of things. Sergio's going to start by giving a history of the NEAT, and we have these nice little awards. And you look at them and it says Boston Micronauts, size does matter, keep your dirty mind out of the gutter. Presenter, so everybody gets one of these, but there's one of them that's a little bit different. Different color ink. Sergio Zigras, founder.
Hey.
Sergio. Founder of the NEAT Micro Seminars.
Thank you. Much appreciated. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Microtechnology Seminar Reunion. This is a reunion. What a wonderful idea. Gordon and Joe, where is Joe Malicek?
He's fine as
Right here. Thanks for thinking of that and organizing it. And special thanks to Gordon for renting this fabulous tent. Without this tent, we wouldn't be able to have the reunion, or we've been out there, or wherever. So thank you both of you. The reunion is part of the big celebration at the NEAT. 20 years of the NEAT existence. This is huge. So congratulations to Tom Hunt, Bob Aberley, and the CFLI group. CFLI is the Silent Flyers of Long Island, for producing such an outstanding show for 20 years. This is quite remarkable. As you know, the NEAT Fair served as a platform and a venue to our microtechnology seminars, and also to the indoor meet at the NEAT. The indoor flying event started a couple of years after the conception of the NEAT Fair, and is still going on today. Gordon Johnson started this event, I guess it was 2002, the first one you started, and it continued for many years, and because his family started growing, sometimes he didn't have enough time to prepare for the indoor flying, so Joe and Cindy Malinchak chipped in. They were very happy to organize and run the event for those years that Gordon could not do it, right?
That's true.
So, let's see. So we see that the NEAT Fair, microtechnology seminars, and the indoor flying, they were all interrelated, right? But how did all start? This is the question. Was it anything like the NEAT Fair before the NEAT? And the answer is yes. It was called the KRC Electric Flying. The KRC started in 1980 and was a very nicely organized and run event with lots of scheduled activities during the day, and also sometimes in the evenings at the nearby hotels. They had show and tells, and everybody looked forward to the Saturday night dinner that the ladies of the KRC prepared for everybody, with the raffles, with the mini talks, and the flower baskets for the ladies. It was wonderful. See, the KRC event was organized by the Keystone RC Club in Pennsylvania. And and spearheaded by Bob Kopsky. Anybody remember this name?
Yeah.
He was a pioneer of electric flight and model aviation columnist for many years. So, as we said, it started in 1980 and lasted for 19 years. So, go back yourself to 1980. The electric flight was in its infancy. The airplanes were heavy, sluggish, struggled to take off, and lasted only a few minutes in the air. And that mainly because of the inefficient motors, the brushed can gray motors and the NiCad batteries, the nickel cadmium batteries, all this inefficient and heavy. Well, things got a little better when Astroflight came up with the cobalt motors, the golden, very well-made motors, cobalt, and also the introduction of the nickel metal hydrides instead of the NiCads improved the situation a little bit. But what it gave a jolt and elevated the electric flight to the level we have today, the efficiency we have today, was the introduction of the brushless motors and the lithium polymer batteries, the LiPos. As some of you remember, when the brushless motors started coming out, they were very expensive. So many of us removed the motors from computer drives and we made our own sort of brushless motors. And also, a lot of manufacturers and hobbyists came up with kits how to wind your own brushless motor. So everybody had a lot of fun, and some succeeded, some not. But all this vanished after 2 or 3 years from that time because of the price of the brushless motor started coming down considerably. So that was very good. Now, the LiPo batteries was a different type of animal. The modelers from the gasoline airplanes and also for the electric airplanes, they used to the NiCad batteries. The NiCad batteries are practically indestructible. You could slow charge them, you can fast charge them, you can super fast charge them to the point you can't even touch them, but you can't destroy them. Well, that wasn't true for the LiPos. LiPos were a different type of animal. They were very powerful, lightweight, very efficient, and very delicate. People were there for the awakening because they didn't know how to treat the LiPo batteries, especially when you had the multi-cell batteries, and because inherently the voltages of each one of the cells is different, you were up for trouble because you could not overcharge, and still you cannot overcharge the LiPos, and you cannot undercharge them. They're very strict and very delicate. So you can imagine people at that time, when they started using them, they had fires in their cars, they had fires in their homes. My late friend Ben Bendit, you ever remember Ben Bendit? He had a big hole in his hobby room from a LiPo fire. So that was the story of these things. Well, we passed that time. And one of the groups that never missed one of these KRC flying events was the Cephalite group, the Silent Flyers of Long Island. We're a loud bunch of characters. And the loudest of all, you can hear him right now. Tom Hunt, you might. It still surprised me today that he uses a microphone. Insists on using a microphone. He doesn't need it. He doesn't need it. Another Cephalite fellow that used to walk around the KRC grounds, it didn't fly much, but he used to gather 10, 20 people and have informal talks about batteries. It was Larry Sribnik of SR Batteries. Larry was a very good man. So later on at KRC, he produced for a couple of years formal talks, not informal like it used to be at the KRC. Formal talks with gurus of the electric fly industry, and he called them the SR Battery Symposium. You can say that that was the predecessor of our seminars here. As we say, the KRC fly started in 1980 and lasted 19 years. At the 1999 Toledo show, there were rumors floating that the KRC that year wasn't going to happen, it was going to be canceled. And everybody got nervous. No, they can't do that. No. Well, close to the September time when we were supposed to go to the KRC show, yeah, it was a formal announcement that they were canceling the KRC fly and they didn't have any plans to continue with that. That was detrimental. Electric flyers panicked. They got nervous. What we're going to do now? No electric fly event, annual event of that magnitude. Remember, that at the KRC there were a couple of hundred registered pilots and many more hundreds of spectators. So it was a big show, and all of a sudden now, you don't have it? Well, the search for a new field, a new situation began at that time. Bill Godleski, also known as Ski, he flew with us gasoline airplanes for many years in New Jersey. He has a vacational home just outside of the Peaceful Valley campground. He saw the potential of this place here, and he called Joe Becher. Anybody remember my old good friend Joe Becher, the Einstein-looking man, that he was my seminars coordinator? Unfortunately, he passed away 3 years ago, but he was a very good man. He was an excellent designer of models, excellent builder, very meticulously built his, but he was a lousy flyer, and he was very neglectful at that. Just to tell you quickly a story with Joe. He designed and built about 10-foot B-17. Took him almost a year and a half to do that. It was a beautiful model. Oh, it had the 4 Cobalt motors, 35, and he had the 38 cells, nickel metal hydride. At the beginning, there were NICADs. And it had my 2 kilowatt power speed controller that I had designed for Jomar. So one day after this year and a half of design and building, it was ready. Steve, one of the best flyers in New Jersey, was to give it the maiden flight. So one sunny Sunday, we all go out there, and that B-17 takes off, and it turned around and looked majestic as anything else, like real B-17. So you went around a little farther away, and all of a sudden it goes into a turn, and boom, crashes to the ground. What happened? Power there? Impossible. Steve was the best flyer. So we go and check all the pieces. Oh, you should see Joe Becher's face. He was devastated. We checked the pieces. Everything was there. The servos, they were connected, the speed controller, the batteries, and the receiver. And top of the receiver was nicely coiled like a bow and a Christmas gift, the antenna, 72 megahertz antenna. He never took the antenna and extended out. So Joe said, that's it, I'll never build another B-17, that's it, I had it, oh wait. 6 months later, he started another B-17. As big as beautiful as the first one. So after like this time, it took him like 9 months, not a year and a half, because he knew how to do it, he had the plans. So he calls me one night and says, Sergio, come over and see my baby here. It's ready to fly this weekend. So I said, okay, Joe, I'm coming. I go there, I see it was really beautiful airplane, we check everything. take the cover, the wings, the servos are there, batteries, speed control, and the receiver, and top of the receiver, nicely coiled. I screamed at Joe. I said, Joe, don't you learn from your own mistakes? Oh my God, we avoided another. I was Joe. I was Joe. You have to love him. He was a funny character. Well, I digressed a little bit, so we're going back. So Ski calls Joe Becher about his place, and Joe Becher calls Tom Hunt. And all of them come and visited this place here, the Peaceful Valley Campground, December 1999. They all loved the place, and Tom Hunt and the Cephalai group started right away organizing the event. Logistics and everything else, a new event, new place. And sure enough, in year 2000, the first Need Fair was a reality. Everybody loved it. There were 225 registered pilots that year, just about the same amount of flyers of the last KRC meet. And there were hundreds of spectators, and everybody was excited, and they knew that this event, it was so well organized and so well run, they knew this event was here to stay for many years. And it did. Look at this, 20 years and still going strong. Right? That was the year 2000. At that time, I happened to be the president of the Bergen County Silent Flyers in New Jersey. So I told my members, next year I'm going to rent a big tent with tables and chairs, so you guys have a place to eat and drink and relax and work on your models. Sure enough, 2001, a beautiful tent was put up for us, and at that time I happened to be designing things for FMA, transmitters, receivers. Everybody remember the M5 receiver, the Extreme receiver. So they made a very nice banner for us, Bergen County Silent Flyers. So we had the tent, we had the banner, we had the chairs, we had everything. My good friend Phil Smith, who I haven't seen for many years now, I knew him from KRC, very inventive mind. He was walking around in Need Fair showing off his homemade brushless setup. So I talked to Phil, and while I was talking to him, I said, I have a tent, I have chairs, and I have members. Why don't I invite him to come and give us a good presentation on his brushless motor setup? Phil said, sure, I'll do that. So he came over and he presented his thing, and everybody loved it. Wow, that was very nice. The year after that, it was 2002, a fellow that probably you know it, Joe Malinchak, had so many beautiful tiny airplanes. You know, Joe won so many awards at the KRC, at the NEAT. He was winning awards all over, and the other places they had the indoor meets. His wife Cindy got jealous of Joe winning all these awards. So I said, I'll show him. So she started building and flying her own models, and she's got a few trophies of herself. As a matter of fact, she started a line of jewelry. You remember the beautiful butterfly earrings and stuff like that? Way to go, Cindy. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. So I saw Joe, and next to him was also another fellow that was winning all kinds of duration awards. Henry Pasquet. They had his lightweight airplanes. Henry was very unique. He found always the lightest materials and the lightest radios to install in his planes, and that's how he was managing to win all these duration awards. So I talked to both of them. I said, how about coming over to our tent and give us a presentation about your models and your techniques, construction techniques. And I said, sure. So I go to my tent, I put up a big sign. Come and see the lightest aircraft and components in the world. I looked at myself, I said, that sounds so good, you know? The lightest aircraft and components in the world. So people came over and saw the presentation. It was so successful, and some of them missed it. Oh, no, you have to have it. We had them again, second presentation. So it was great, and everybody said, wow, this looks very good, you know? We have to have more of these things. I said, sure, I have to have more. Well, next to our tent, it was John Worth's tent. Late John Worth, everybody remember John Worth. He was selling components and motors and battery stuff for microfly, and also was promoting the magazines. At the beginning it was Cloud 9, and then it was RC Microfly World. John was very, very instrumental to the advancement of the microflying. He wrote so many articles on those magazines that we knew who was doing what in the micro world, microflying world. And besides, the other magazines also had articles about microflying and everything else. So from all these magazines and from John Worth, we more or less knew who the gurus of the microfly were. Now the trick was how to bring them over to the NIT and to the tent so they can give some presentations. Most of them, like Joe and Henry and Bob Selman and John Ward and Dave Barley, they drove to the NIT no matter what. They never missed one thing. So it was very easy when I spoke to them about giving some formal presentations. Sure, yeah, that would be very nice. So that was the easy part. The little more difficult part was for the fellows that had to fly in the presentations. So to make it a little easier for those fellows, I offered my house to stay at my house before and after the NIT fair. I would pick them up from the airport and bring them back. So that was a little easier. So this way I was able to lure in Mr. Matt Kinnon from California, Nick Lecty from Florida, and Mark Denham, the very funny fellow from England, from the Aeronauts Club. So
I came as well, but I didn't stay at your place the first time.
That's right, not the first time.
I was going to say, towards the end of all these things, I started having emails with Peter. And Peter said he was most likely make it neat, but he wanted to present his helicopters, his proxy flyers, but he would not divulge much information because he had a lot of pending patents. I said, no problem, that's not a problem. So we're in 2003 now, and we have all these wonderful speakers, right? Matt and Nick and Mark made it in. Mark made it in very late. You remember 3 o'clock in the morning, right? Because his flight was. But he was ready that morning for the big adventure. So we come here, and now we have a formal agenda. I put a big agenda in front of the tent. Bergen County South Flight 10. Come and see the smallest and lightest aircraft and parts in the world, and hear the fellow speakers. And I have, of course, I have a copy of this agenda. As a matter of fact, I have a copy of all 10 years of the mini seminars. And if anybody wants to see them, they'll be here. If anybody wants to have files, electric files, I can email to you. So it's worth mentioning because that was the first formal presentation of the microtechnology seminars. We started with John Malinchak in Pennsylvania about small scale planes and construction techniques. And Bob Selman, receiver decoders, tiny seat actuator drivers. And we have Mark Denham from England, Aeronauts Club, small scale planes, Dicron construction. Gary Jones, actuators and plastic modeling. Mario Di Diego, tiny geared motors, actuators, etc. Henry Bosque, smallest and lightest RC planes, building techniques. Yes. Matt Keenan, tiny barber planes, muscle wire actuators. Yeah.
Never give up.
Every time Matt came over, he had some variation of these muscle wire actuators. They were great. They were great. Fred Marks, you remember Fred Marks? The FMA Direct? Well, LiPo batteries and micromark system. Phil Smith, small brushless motors, alternative RF receivers. And then we had the indoor meet at the Walden High School. And I'll talk about Walden. I'll talk about this Walden indoor electric fly event a little later on. Nick Lecty, we talk about tiny receivers and tiny actuators. Peter Muren, is a proxy flyer special indoor heli. Gordon Johnson, a magnetic actuator performance. Clarence Hurd about his RFS S100 receiver, and I finished the whole thing talking about the infrared, my infrared systems and the miscellaneous. So that was a very nice first time formal agenda micro seminars event. And from that point on, we were flying. We had our tent, we had our theme, we had our speakers, and now we're going to the year 2004. The year 2004 NEAT was unforgettable, not for its greatness though, because of the devastating floods. Anybody that attended that meet, they can never forget it.
Raise your hand.
Well, I guess everybody, just about everybody was there.
Crossing the gym.
So yeah, what happened to that year? Well, Friday we started with our seminars Friday, and everything was going well. Friday we had John Malchuk, Gordon Johnson, Mark Denham, Daniel Nicole, Mr. Dydell from Switzerland, and Peter, of course. I neglected the previous one with Peter. It was very funny because we almost finished the presentations and Peter wasn't there. When his time slot was there, he wasn't there. I almost finished the presentation, somebody whispered in my ear, "I'm Peter Neuron, and I want to show my helis." I was so glad to see Peter. So right away we made a time slot for him. He showed his beautiful prox flyer, very stable, very quiet because it was belt-driven heli. And later on, it was like impossible to manufacture and sell this thing because it was very high quality. So it degraded the quality a little bit, changed the design, and made it a little less expensive. And Radio Shack, this is the second generation of the Mosquito. Radio Shack sold, I think there were three of them: the Mini, the Mosquito, and the first one.
Runner.
Every year my kids would get whatever his latest was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matt Keenan also produced another helicopter and also sold by Radio Shack, right?
Not Radio Shack.
Yeah.
Was it
It
Radio
was
Shack?
Radio.
Oh, that's right.
It was Radio Shack.
Yeah.
It was Radio Shack.
I made a couple dollars on it.
You remember one time we were coming back and we stopped at Radio Shack?
Yeah, and they had
Joe Bishop was there. So-
That's right.
Yeah, they had his stuff. So an employee comes over and Joe Besa says, "You know this guy? This guy is the designer of that thing." He says, "No way."
Yeah.
He says, "Yeah, he is." Oh my God, he screamed the whole story. It was something to see over there. Yeah. that was the thing. So, from the good and laughing things, we go back to the devastation now. That Friday we started with seminars, and the weather looked very bad. So
It was raining already.
nothing.
on Friday.
Yeah, it was. And everybody waited for the seminars because there was nothing else to do. You couldn't do anything. So we had everybody that need to listen to the seminars. That was Friday. Saturday morning, we wake up to see our parking lot at the Riverside Motel being converted to a river.
Yeah.
It was flowing down. Our cars were halfway into the
Half
water.
the tires were. Yeah.
Yeah, oh my God, I say, what is this? I remember seeing Peter Murin carrying his boxes with
pants.
the rolled up
Yeah,
pants.
no socks or
I
shoes.
said, well, we have to do the same thing ourselves.
Yeah. You were laughing at him like, oh yeah.
Oh my God. So we had to take off our shoes and roll our pants and bring our belongings to the cars and leave because the motel was going to
it
be
was
flooded.
racing as we were doing
It
this.
was, yeah, so we knew that could not come back to the motel.
And his exhaust pipe was bubbling. It was below water and it was bubbling.
Yeah, because when you
Yeah.
started the car, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Little submarine action.
It was, well, some things is funny now, but they weren't funny when,
It was
when
funny
these things
then.
happened. It wasn't very funny when that
30
thing
minutes
happened.
later, it could not have been fun.
So we said the Need Fair was closed. The roads were blocked off, the bridges were, so detours all over. So we started driving around to find a place for breakfast. And we ended up in Roscoe, the famous Roscoe Diner. So we had our breakfast over there, and we had nowhere to go. We had to stay over there. The weather was bad, the Need Fair was closed, so what do we do now? So we start talking, and then why don't we have our seminars here? Because most of our speakers and friends were there already at the Roscoe Diner. So we pull up the tables, and we started having the seminars over there. We were there for like 8 hours.
Yeah.
We had breakfast, seminar, lunch, and we're almost close to dinner. Now, what we do for dinner and what we do for sleeping?
Well,
We were like homeless.
and maybe indoor flying, but we weren't sure. Maybe
Indoor,
we could get to-
indoor flying. We tried to get to Walton.
we were
Yeah,
trying to-
Gordon,
The road was washed out.
Gordon was supposed to have his electric fly indoor. You could not get there. So we drove and drove and drove, and we ended up at the Downsville High School,
Red
and
Cross.
show some signs of life over there. The Red Cross had taken over the school to help the local residents and visitors to cope with this situation because it was such a devastation. While we drove around, we saw the campgrounds converted into lakes. Some of them looked like rivers. The cars were overturned. The RVs were floating.
They were floating upside down.
Oh,
down
my
the
God.
rivers, RVs.
If-
And I remember also a guy who was just went into Florida, where his house there was completely demolished, and then he came back
Oh, there's
to here, and his
That-
other
that-
house was demolished.
That
as
was
well.
that was key. That was key. Yeah, that I mentioned before. So it was terrible. What we're talking about? We're talking about the diving school. It's an interesting thing here because Gordon Johnson had contacted diving school to allow him to have his indoor flying event at the Downsville school, and the manager says, "No way, that sounds dangerous." No, so he went to Walton and he secured his place over there for the indoor flying. So here we are at Downsville school with the Red Cross. They gave us food, they gave us drink, they even gave us ice cream, I remember.
And a free
was-
telephone call home.
It was nice. So now we are there, just about all the seminar speakers and friends, and we have all our belongings with us, airplanes and stuff. So reluctantly, we go to the management, we ask for permission to give the gym to fly our little planes. And to our surprise, the management said yes. Wow, I remember saying no to Gordon. I said, this is great. So we start flying our models, and we were there for hours. We had such fun, we forgot about all the devastation and all the floods and all these terrible things that happened. So you see what happened after this terrible situation. We had something good coming out. The ancient Greek philosophers always said there's nothing bad that doesn't bring anything good. A more contemporary philosopher, Matt Keenan, paraphrased, he said, make a lemonade out of lemons. She wrote some articles, interesting articles. She wrote, I remember another article he wrote in another magazine. It said, wet and wild. And in that article he has pictures of the overturned RVs and the cars and the floods and everything else. So Matt wrote a lot of good articles about the seminars and the NEAT fair and the indoor flying. It was great. Probably my time is over. So from that point on, we were cruising. We had our way of doing the seminar style, so year after year we did the seminars. In 1997 I retired from Intel, and my wife and I bought a little villa in Florida, and we were spending a lot of time in Florida, and more we're spending more time in Florida. We loved it in Venice and less time up here. So I could not be the president of the Bergen County Silent Flyers anymore, and graciously Carlos Molina accepted the responsibility of being the president. He's a good president. He is still the president of the Bergen County Silent Flyers. They still have some talks over there and attend now. The last microtechnology seminar we had here at the NEAT, at the Bergen County Silent Flyers tent, was in 1998. The same year, 1998, Joe Malinchak and Cindy and the Monse Flyers secured an enormously large dome in Pennsylvania. So September we were here, and October they called the Kiev indoor flying event. So it was very nice. The year after that, we went back to our seminars, not at the NEAT anymore, but at the Kiev. So we had 1999, 2009 and 2010, two consecutive years at the Kiev instead of at the NEAT here. And I remember Martin Newell won the Best Effort Awards for his amazing planes those 2 years, right? So you can see after 2010, that was our 10th year of the microflying seminars, but the indoor flying continued after that. So for all these years that we had the seminars, the microtechnology seminars, everybody that attended, including myself, every year we looked forward to the seminars to meet our friends and make new friends and learn a little more about our wonderful hobby. And for that, I'm very grateful at all the organizers, Tom Hahn, Gordon, Joe and Cindy Malchak, and all the speakers and all the attendees for making it all possible. Thank you all for that.